Everybody. Thank you for coming today. I'm Cynthia Madden Leitner. I'm the founder and director of the Museum of Outdoor Arts. I have the privilege of introducing Todd Siler. He's here today. Where's Todd? And Todd's going to talk a little bit about Dorothy and Mel Tanner and their work. And Todd is known as a cerebralist, an inventor, an author, and when I met him, he was writing a book called Think Like a Genius. And Think Like a Genius is a process that geniuses have used, and Todd has outlined all of the steps on how to invent and create in layman's terms, which is very exciting. But all those titles aside, Todd's also a dear friend, and we're very honored to have him with us today to talk to Dorothy and to talk about Dorothy's work. Todd?
And it's fantastic to be here. When I first met Dorothy and got familiar with this world, I suddenly realized that what they have is this freewheeling kind of spirit of innovation that flows so naturally out of creativity, curiosity, wonderment, all the core things that we know when we look at and try to connect light and life. And, you know, without those two fundamental things, we couldn't exist. And so in their work, what I see constantly, beautifully realized, is this intertwine, this eternal intertwine of light and life, like in our minds and nature, that are so natural, it's so organic, and they're embodiments, literally, if you think about it, matter, energy, material, and meaning, the things we imbue our structures and create things with. And in fact, I said to Dorothy at one point, I said, you know, genius is everywhere, every day, and everyone in every way imaginable, because we don't see it until it's manifest in some way. So I see so much invention and innovation in these works that absolutely take us to what might be called a synthetic, a synesthesia experience. And I do hope that this body of work and way of thinking and understanding the world and enabling us through the plastic arts to literally have an experience of what enlightenment feels like, looks like, and everything that flows radiates out of it. That's so exciting. That inspires us. Because after all, right, inspiration is key to all of this. And even the journey that Dorothy's been on with Mel and with Mark Billard in the way they construct and devise these just elegant, gorgeous pieces that, in fact, have so much light and life and all the symbolism, metaphorically, philosophically, that comes with it, that's absolutely special. And in fact, is part of an area that they're going in and that they're moving towards even now as they use literally the light of art to heal, to allow us to actually bring that presence in our lives and see it and experience it in a very, I would say, not just artistic, a spiritual way, but in a way that enriches our lives in a really profound way. You begin to see that they're quite philosophical. They're playful. They have all this richness to them that is layered in a very deep way, and that they reveal in a very direct way how deep our minds are. And actually, I say that about Dorothy. It's a true compliment to Dorothy, is that you really see a beautiful mind that is forever open because you're open to wonderment, constant wonderment, and it's childlike and it's beautiful. It really evokes for me a connection that maybe many of you will resonate. Beauty and truth, and think of this in the context of their work. Beauty and truth are what sort of gifts that nature's given all humankind. Art and science are how we use those gifts. And I think that you have used them brilliantly, as you'll see in these films. So enjoy.
Bright light lights, big beats, and watery art. Part art gallery, part disco, and part laser light show. Add it all up and you get Lumonics.
Light defines reality. Light defines who you are, what you look like. I'm not interested in one sense in what I know. I'm interested in what I don't know, in what can be discovered in the process of creating something with light, and to discover what it is that I'm really thinking or what I'm really feeling. You need to play with the material and to play with light and to discover it. That interests me.
The title of your show at the Museum of Outdoor Arts is Then and Now, a Retrospective by Dorothy and Mel Tanner. Maybe we can talk a little bit about the exhibition. Why would you call this exhibition a retrospective?
It covers about 50 years. The then and now idea, of course, revolves around the black room, that you gave me to do for your group show. So that's the now, more or less. And the rest of the stuff of mine, and certainly Mel's, because he's been gone 24 years, is retrospective.
Dorothy, that's serendipitous because in 2017, our theme at the Museum of Outdoor Arts is based on past, present, and future and how they all coincide. And as with your retrospective with Mel, some of the pieces that were done 50 years ago, which is the past, look like they're brand new and were just completed. And also, they have staying power into the future. Dorothy, what's the oldest artwork in the exhibition?
Yeah, the oldest piece in the show, I believe, is around 50 years old. But I think it does not look retro. The feedback that I've been getting with Mel's stuff is it's for now and for the future. We began doing light art when we returned from Europe. See, we had run a co-op gallery, granite gallery, on East 57th Street in New York, above the Hammer Gallery. It's a very prestigious location, which attracted all kinds of people throughout the country because representation on that street at that time was the creme de la creme, We made a decision to perhaps go to the West Coast, go to San Francisco, because that's where things were really happening. We went to Miami to visit my parents and decided, we'd been running around in Europe for a couple of years, so we decided to live in South Florida. Lumonics came as a result, not entirely, of an experience that Mel had. Mel and I came down to the facility to check out the fountain or whatever, and then we were walking across a parking lot to go to a diner to have a bite. And Mel looked up and a light bounced off the wing of an airplane, and Mel saw himself the other side of the parking lot. He also did not entirely recognize me. He did not tell me of what he had experienced because it was so profound. But we sat in this diner, whatever it was, and a black man was serving us, and Mel conveyed to me later that the black man was some sort of angelic creature. It all sounded very far out to me. However, he was changed by that flash of light. And so Lumonics, which was at that time After Image Studio or whatever we called it. I think 1969 came into what was necessary for us to be doing, which is to further the combination of the sound and the light sculptures to raise the consciousness. It's such a flat phrase by now, but it's the best I can do. Well, you know, Mel and I had changed in many ways. Certainly, the fact that our friends were 20 years younger than we. They were the energy that spawned the 60s and the whole breakout that the 60s brought with it. These people that we were in touch with were young people that were getting stoned and that were finding other ways of being, other ways of living. And light, or certainly music, was very, very important. It was the vehicle of transmitting that vibration. We picked up on that. And our early light and sound theater incorporated these people as audience. We had a warehouse. The warehouse had been our studio. And then we took another warehouse that was adjacent to it. So we had a performance space and we had a workspace. Our studio was in the same location as the theater, which was a large warehouse with a 30-foot wall. Mel had a circular sculpture in the middle of it that came out. We began to do performances with overhead projectors. We created sculptures with light. We bring in musicians. Music has the ability, sound has the ability, as does light, to transport you to other realms. The freshness of the music, along with the fact that we're able to use a 30-foot wall to project images on, and then to move the images, this was a revelation and very, very inspiring to us. And then to create shapes that incorporated lights and have the lights further the experience. Initially, we used even some classical music. As a matter of fact, I insisted that one of the pieces during our concerts would involve a classical piece that we did visuals for. Here are these young people who wouldn't go near anything classical. They got floored, they got carried away. It was so gratifying to me, you know, to be able to broaden their perspective. We also had slide projectors, a battery of slide projectors. We also had a laser that I mostly manipulated. I put the discs on the turntable, selected music for the shows. Then it was a totally stoned out group of people. They came into the space and there was this fountain that we had constructed, and then this large area that had a mezzanine. The fact of the mezzanine made it possible for us to do the shows. Pieces were on as people came in. They hung around for a while. We would take the lights down, they would seat themselves. The room would be entirely black. And we'd keep it that way till they started to get nervous. And then we'd start to bring up the lights slowly and bring up the sound. The sound for the transition was usually maybe 2-3 minutes, but really chilled them out. And then we'd come on with a high energy thing, something that was happening, and the room would go crazy. And then the second piece would be a meditative, flowing, very often a classical piece. And then we'd go back to another middle type piece, and then we would close also. We'd either send them out all revved up or chilled out. We started to bring in outside acts in Florida. What happened is we got very, very successful in the 80s, and ecstasy was happening, MDMA, you know, and somehow the young kids were really into it, and Lumonics was a perfect place for them. We're involved with a psychiatrist in Central City. The fact is, I did an installation there a few months ago, and it exists there. It's in a casino, what was a casino. It's called the 7-Star Healing Center. Dr. Suarez is a psychiatrist, and the idea of working with him to set up a art installation and for him to set up the possibility of it being a healing center, as well as being able to utilize the art, the power of the art, the light art, to create healing. Our experience in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, and I guess what's really kept us going, is the fact that it's not just doing art, it's looking to combine the light art that we do and music to bring people to a better, a healing place. And the idea of taking people with PTSD and helping them through it by using sound and light and the environment is the idea that we're really onto. We still have a Lumonics studio in Denver to this day. I'm unaccustomed to speaking loudly. Either one. Okay.
Well, it's so fascinating to me that really you're at this precipice here, this cusp that we're experiencing now, where there's all that is art will become science, and all that science will become art. That there's this beautiful interleave with those.
I want to say this. What is so gratifying to me now is not so much the way the baby boomers generation or older, but the way the kids respond to what we're doing. That's a confirmation of something that is important to me. And I really should address the science aspect of it. After all, we fell into a time when there were light shows starting to happen. There were black light rooms, all kinds of art that was coming out of the 60s mentality, which was very, the hell with the past, and what are we doing for tomorrow? What are we doing right now that is saying something? And we fell into that possibility, and we utilized it differently than the kids did, but not totally. We actually took from it and recreated what we were doing with it, which was pretty impressive.
Well,
Yeah, you talked about at the end of the film that you really believe light and sound is a healing force. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, you know, so far as light and sound, certainly sound, I had a gut recognition that this is a healing thing, as well as something that you have the power to trip out on, to trip out of yourself. People came in. The reason I keep going is because I do want it to continue to happen. I think it's valuable. I wouldn't like to think of having spent a better part of a lifetime on something inconsequential. On the other hand, no, not the other hand. I would like it to be appreciated for people to have it to do with as they will.
I just have to say that many scientists believe a discovery is an accident waiting for a prepared mind.
Yes.
So you're kind of preparing the minds through the work and so forth that you do in a very fluid, very imaginative, and very unbounded way, which is quite extraordinary.